In this video I'm going to share with you my award-winning pizza dough, and it's exactly the same dough that got me second place last month at International Pizza Championship in Bucharest. And it's exactly the same dough that I used for the pizza that basically won me a free spot into next year World Pizza Championship. We are going to dissect this dough. We are going to talk about the formula. I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. Basically this is a no-brainer. If you're going to watch this video till the end, you can take this dough into your business, into your pizza party. This is going to be that dough that is going to impress everybody. Hello guys, my name is Alex from Next Level Pizza Academy, and I've been making pizzas for 12 years. And the past month I've won 2 second places at International Pizza Championship in Romania, in Bucharest. And the dough that I'm about to share with you today is the dough that also basically got me a free ticket for next year at World Pizza Championship, and it's also the dough that actually made my home country Romania select me to represent Romania for next year at the same event. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's dough recipe. Making pizza dough can be a bit of a challenge, but whenever I'm trying to make a pizza dough other than usual, I'm thinking about the final result and what I want to get. An amazing habit that I like to have when making dough is to start with the end result in mind and break down the steps to achieve that result. Now, of course, this can only be possible if you understand the process of making dough in general, especially pizza dough, at an advanced level. After I have a clear picture in mind, I then go ahead and choose my formula from which I'll create my recipe. Then I'll choose my technique and how I want my dough to ferment. So now that you briefly understand what's on my mind when I make the pizza dough, let's get into today's dough. The dough that I made for this event was as follows. I did a 65% hydration and I used 2 techniques. I used 50% of the dough, a classic Biga pre-ferment, and the other 50% I choose to make an autolyze. Now let's go ahead and show you how I make my dough formula, and from the formula I make the recipe. This dough formula looks exactly like this. 100% flour, from which 90% it's a 00 flour and 10% it's a strong whole grain flour. 65% hydration, 2.5% salt and 2% extra virgin olive oil. When making pizza dough, it's super important to work with formula. Basically, this will guarantee you that if you use this formula and you do everything to the gram, you will have exactly the same dough. Doesn't matter if you make dough for 10 pizzas or for 173.7 pizzas, your dough will always get the same as long as you use the same formula, same technique, same temperature and same fermentation. Now that you have the formula in mind, let's go ahead and make our recipe from this formula. So if I'm going to translate that formula into a recipe, exactly the recipe we are going to make today, we are going to use in total 2000 grams of flour, from which 1800 is going to be 00 flour and 200 grams is going to be strong whole grain flour, 1300 grams of water, 50 grams of salt and 40 grams of extra virgin olive oil. So now that we have almost everything under control, we just need to figure out exactly what is that thing that I talked about, 50% Biga, 50% autolyze. And then we can actually go on and make our final dough. So to do that, I think it's best if we just take this formula and move it to the... So before I actually go ahead and do that, maybe you have noticed my pizza studio changed. So we have a new decor, and this brings me to a point. Making this video takes a lot of time. It actually takes a few days to record and film all of this video. My point is here, if you really enjoyed this video, this type of video and format and how I explain and how I interact with you guys in my video, please let me know in the comments below, but most importantly, make sure to subscribe and like this video, and this way everybody will be happy. Basically, I will be happy because you show me that you actually enjoy this type of content, and this will actually motivate me to do more of this in the future. You will make YouTube happy because, well, they know that you like this kind of video, and YouTube will recommend these videos to more and more people, and the most important part, you and everybody watching this video will be happy because you actually get to make awesome pizza. So again, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Now let's move forward with this video. Moving on, this formula needs to be on the whiteboard. Now that we have everything in place, the only thing is missing is to fill out those two variables that we actually don't know, and actually to find out what these two techniques is about. So 50% biga, 50% autolyzed. Now, since biga it's actually a pre-ferment, so a pre-dough that we make, you know, depending on the case, 8 hours, 24, 48 hours before our actual dough. This is the first thing we need to find out and actually make it. In order for tomorrow or 24 hours from now, we have everything in place and we can actually make our pizza dough. So how to find out the 50% biga? It's super simple. The only thing we need to focus on our recipe is the amount of flour, the total amount of flour. And in this case it's 2000 grams, and that means 50% of 2000 is 1000 grams of flour. And we can just write here 1000 grams of flour. Now that we found out exactly the amount of flour we need to use for the biga, Biga Classic specifically on its own has its own formula. So just as our dough has its own formula, the biga has a specific formula, and that is once we calculated the amount of flour, we need to find out 44% of water. So in this case it's going to be 440 grams, and 1% fresh yeast, that would be 10 grams, or you can do the math. If you're using dry yeast, 0.35% out of 1000 grams, and that will give you how much grams you need to use. One other thing I want to point out about the biga is the type of flour you want to use, and that will be a strong W330 or beyond flour. Don't ask me about the type of flour, or the professional flours are good. This is what's important for this type of biga. Now on this other side we have this 50% autolyzed, and this we are going to make 1 hour prior to the final dough. So to keep it simple, this one we make it around 24 hours before. This autolyzed we make 1 hour before. And how do we calculate? Actually this is an question mark, percent of flour and 55% water. So to find out the autolyzed, the only thing we need to find out is the remaining of the flour after we made our biga. So this is our final dough. Again, this guides us to what we want to make. And since we took out 1000 grams of flour out of it, the only thing that's left is 800 grams of 00 flour and 200 grams of strong whole grain flour. And that will give us 800 plus 200 grams. 800 00 plus 200 grams whole grain flour, and 55% water, so 550 grams of water. Super simple, right? Again, I really hope that all this makes sense to you and you enjoy it. Personally, I want to make this video because I feel that there isn't enough explanation on YouTube in terms of this stuff. So I really hope you got everything. If you enjoy so much details into actually making the recipe and understanding the recipe, please let me know. If you want to make it shorter and skip all this stuff, just tell me in the comments. I will make sure to read all the comments below this video, and let's go ahead. So the way I recommend you do the biga, it's super simple. But first you need to find out the temperature of the water, and that actually you can find very simple with a formula. It's a fixed constant of 55 minus, and then you add your room temperature and your flour temperature, and that will give you the temperature for the water. Of course, this small amount of biga, I could have done it in a pizza box with my hands, but I just want to show, because actually when I make it in my business, I make it with a mixer always, because I do like big chunks of it. It's not just 1 kilo, usually it can be like 10 kilos of, or even 15 kilos of flour. So this is how I do it. I leave it for 1 minute basically to oxygenate. So while that happens, I go ahead and put my 10 grams of fresh yeast into the water. Take a fork and just mix it and let it dissolve. So super fast go around. So when we make biga, we have only one simple goal. We just want to hydrate the flour, and that's it. So what that actually means, it means that we just want that every single gram, as much as we can, of flour that is inside our mixer will get in touch with the water. We don't want to create a dough, we just want to get the flour hydrated. Now 1 minute has passed, and basically we just go ahead and put all the water inside of mixer. Now, because this is such a small amount, I will help it with my hands from time to time, but I don't recommend you put the hands in the mixer unless you have a lot of experience with it. So all this action in making the biga, it should take you like 2 minutes, and after the 2 minutes you will see that the flour is not like fully hydrated. You can leave it 1 minute more, especially that is such a small amount, but usually 2 minutes. So like I said, I'm just going ahead and help this flour a bit, you know, just want to take it from the edge and make sure I push it where the mixer goes. But please, if you're going to do this, be very careful. As you can see, I actually modified this mixer because usually it has like a grill on top. So I took that grill off and blocked the sensor so I can use it without the grill, because here in the studio I'm doing small amounts of dough, and that grill, you know, really stand in my way. Right now I think we are like 1.5–2 minutes in, and we just want to check the temperature. The very important part is we don't want the temperature to go over 20 degrees. Ideally we want around 19.5 degrees, 19.5, and this is how we are right now. 18, you know, 19. So if you got the formula right and you started with the right temperature for the water, after 2 minutes you should be there, you know, maximum 19.5 degrees. And this looks super nice. I'm just gonna stop the mixer right now, and we just want to, you know, show you it's exactly as it is. You know, the dough shouldn't be together. We just want the flour hydrated. And you know, you can see I still have a bit of flour on my hands. So what I do, I take it from the mixer and put it in a box, and while I do so, I kind of like squeeze it, because I want, like, if there is a bit of dry flour like on top of the dough, I want to kind of integrate it with the rest of the dough. So that's it for the biga. Put it in a container and store it 4 to 6 hours at room temperature, and then 20 more hours at 4 degrees Celsius. If after the 20 hours at 4 degrees Celsius you're not ready to use it, or you know, you have some dough left, or some emergency happens, don't worry, you can still keep it in the fridge for like 1 to 2 days more. I personally did a dough with biga after 3, even 4 days in the fridge at 4 degrees because of some kind of an emergency, or sometimes I experiment and just leave it there and don't use it, and I still got an awesome dough. But you know, ideally 4 to 6 hours at your ambient temperature, and then go ahead and put it for 20 more hours at 4 degrees. So like you can see, these last parts, like, they are mostly dry flour, so we just put it on top and then kind of blend it together with the rest of the biga. So the next time I'm gonna see you is gonna be exactly 1 hour before we make our final dough, to actually make the autolyze for the dough. Alrighty guys, now here we are exactly 1 hour before actually making our final dough, and one step is missing, and that is to make the autolyze. So autolyze is exactly the same process as biga. Right here I have 800 grams of the 00 flour, this time a weaker 00 flour, so around 260–270 W. Mixed with 200 grams of that strong whole grain flour that I'm using. And same step process, we are going to start the mixer and leave it mix for around 1 minute. Then we go in with the 55% of the water, so 550 grams of water. And this time the difference between the autolyze and the biga in terms of how to execute it, this time we like to leave it around 3 to 5 minutes. So we actually want to start forming a bit of a gluten. And in this 1 hour where we are going to let the autolyze basically relax, the gluten is gonna develop furthermore, so it's gonna be super strong. Basically this technique was developed in Italy for, you know, when flour was not as strong as it is right now, and it needed something, you know, to basically straighten up that gluten even more than you could basically do with a direct method. So let's go ahead and make this thing happen.
3, 2, 1.
Alright guys, this is it. Around 5 minutes in, you can see the dough is totally different than the biga. It's actually looks like dough. Oh, I dropped some. Well, that's life. Super simple process. Just take it, put it somewhere, and leave it to stay at room temperature. You know, here is you can go If it's like very hot and it's summer, you can put it in the fridge at 4 degrees for this hour. If not, just leave it at room temperature. And then let's go ahead and see how to make the final dough. And while this rests, I want you to figure out now what exactly we need to add to the final dough. Again guys, this video, it's not about me showing what I can do. It's about me actually helping you understand. Now I could go ahead and just say you put the biga together and the Auralize together and add 210 more grams of water and the rest of the ingredients, but I want to help you figure out, because I remember when I started trying to figure out myself, I couldn't, it just some of the things that make sense to you. Now some of you might make this logic and figure out how all these things happens, but I really want to make sure you understand 100% where those grams of water come. Okay, so let's get into action. Now when we are going to make the final dough in 1 hour from now, while the Auralize is resting, let's figure out what ingredients we need to add from our final dough. Now, first things first, one thing is for sure, we actually used all the flour, so we don't have any more flour left because we used some of it here and some of it here. Now, we actually used some of the water, but not everything. So we have a bit more water left, and then we have the salt and the extra virgin olive oil. Now, one of the things that you want to pay attention whenever you start making a dough, you never want to go from the start more than 60%. Basically, that is a safe point of the flour, how much, usually, typically the flour hydrates very well, and that will be 60%. So at first, 60% from our final dough, it's actually going to be 1,200 grams of flour. Now, if we take this and then we take out all this flour and all this flour they use by now, so 440 and 550 grams, we actually will find out that we need to add 210 more grams of water in order to get to this hydration, and then after that we need to get to 1,300 grams in the end. So all in all, what we need to do right now is we need to mix the biga with the polish plus 210 grams of water. We leave it mix well together and develop and hydrate everything super well. Let this water incorporate very good with the rest of the dough, and then we are going to use 100 grams more to bring the hydration up to 65%. And then of course we are going to go in with the salt in the end and with the extra virgin olive oil. Now, talking about the salt and the olive oil, it's a subject for another day, but basically this is what we gotta do right now. We are ready to rumble, so just look at the consistency of the Auralize. It's super strong at this moment. So just take it out, put it inside the mixer. This is the biga, how it looks after around 6 hours at room temperature and 20 in the 4 degrees. Again, nothing else to do, just take everything and mix it together. Add the first 210 grams of water and let's go. Now, because right here in my pizza studio I only have a 1-speed mixer because of the voltage issues, this whole process is gonna take me 20 minutes. If you would have like a 2-speed mixer or even something that goes over 300 RPMs, it can take, from 8 to 12 minutes, for this specific dough. So I'm talking about this 65% hydration dough. If you want to go higher, like 70, 75, 80, of course it's gonna take a bit more because you have to go slowly with the water. Alright guys, so for me it has been around 6 minutes, and this is kind of like the first milestone you want to get to. The dough you want to look like really well together, and right now we are at 60%, and of course we can go ahead and put in the rest of the water. So we have 100 grams more, and we just go ahead and slowly put it, because this is actually not such a big amount. We want to go slowly, but so as soon as you see that you put a bit of water on the side and the dough starts to absorb it. You know what the dough does, it breaks apart and then it comes along together back. And before I actually go in with the last bit of the water, I'm just gonna go ahead on top, put in the salt. I just want to very fast basically dissolve it, and again, please be very careful. Don't go anywhere this area or this area. The only way, if you actually want to do this, the only way you are allowed to put your hands in, it's on this side. So me personally, I'm around 13 minutes in. I'm going ahead with the olive oil right on top, everything at once. Let's get this dough finished and make some pizza, guys. Alright guys, 17 minutes in and we are actually there. Everything is well integrated. Just gonna give it one more minute and I'm gonna stop it. We are ready, so nothing else to do. Just put a bit of olive oil in your hands just to get it a bit more easier out of this mixer. And I'm just gonna put it from the mixer straight into this box. That's it. Cover it, leave it 30 minutes at room temperature, and we're gonna ball it. Awesome, so this dough, it's ready, it's balled up and it's ready to put it to ferment. Now here's what I want you to do. Put it 1 hour at room temperature and then 4 to 6 hours at 4 degrees and it's gonna be ready to use it. Use it straight from the fridge and maybe, you know, maximum half hour before. If you are not ready to use it after those 6 hours when the dough is already ready to be used, you can go ahead and leave it up to 3-4 days in the fridge and it's still gonna be ready. Now if you don't believe me, here I have exactly the same dough, so it's exactly the same formula. And here is the funny part about this. I started making the biga for this dough exactly 1 week ago, so 7 days ago. I couldn't make it at that time exactly after 24 hours, so it's been one extra day. So this dough, it's balled and not reballed. So this dough, it's exactly this one. It was not reballed, it was left exactly like this for 4 days or 5 days, I don't even remember. And it still looks awesome. In fact, if you're gonna watch the video till the end, I'm gonna make a pizza with this dough comparing to this one and show you exactly how it's gonna turn out in 5 days at 4 degrees Celsius. This is insane. Alright guys, now I know pretty much everybody's been waiting for this moment. This is it. The dough looks absolutely impeccable. I mean, it looks exactly like it's supposed to be. And you know, please remember, you know, I know it's been so long in this video, please remember this is not just any dough. This is the dough that actually won me 2 awards at last month's International Pizza Championship, and probably this is the dough I'm gonna compete next year in World Pizza Championship at the category Pizza Classica. It is something special, it is perfect in my point of view for a Pizza Classica, but you know, don't get confused, you know, this is not the only thing that got me the second place. Of course, everything it's pointed, like from the dough to the toppings to the techniques, how professional you are as a pizzaiolo, how clean you are, so all of these factors, of course, together got me 2 awards at that championship. But you know, this is a big part of it. So before we actually go ahead and make this pizza, if you need private help with your pizza, if you want to take your pizza game to the next level, please don't hesitate to contact me. I can get you a free pizza consultancy called Zoom one-on-one together with me. This is what Next Level Pizza Academy is all about. It's not me teaching you something like this, you know, it's not me showing you, hey, you have to make my dough and you know, you have to tell everybody that you make my dough so I can become famous. Next Level Pizza Academy, it is for you. It is for the people who want to learn this stuff. It is if you want to understand like everything from the ground up to the most advanced level. This is whose Next Level Pizza Academy is for. So not for somebody who just wants to learn a pizza recipe. This is what I do on YouTube. I put free video recipes here and some techniques But if you really want to go in depth and work one-on-one personally over Zoom and have access to my online platform, of course, don't hesitate to contact me here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Let's go ahead and make this pizza. So let's start with this bad boy. You know, it got my attention, exactly this pizza bowl. Okay guys, so let's go ahead and bake this pizza. All right, so keep in mind, this is not a contemporary Neapolitan style pizza. This is a pizza classica, so this is not gonna have that huge crust, even though contemporary Neapolitan style is one of my favorite types of pizza. This is actually a pizza classica, and of course this should be baked. This dough, not of course this, but this specific dough is not designed to be baked at 400, 450, 500 degrees. It's not a Neapolitan style pizza. This is perfect to be baked, even though it's a lower hydration, it's perfect to bake at 350, 360 degrees. And it's all about the balance in this pizza. So you want to make sure you get all the air, and you want to have like balanced everywhere around, balanced cornicione, so balanced crust, balance the dough under the pizza and everything. So let's go ahead and stretch this pizza. Take out the flour as much as we can right now. Shake it a bit more. And there you have it, guys. Of course, we are gonna test this dough with the margherita. Like, the margherita is the ultimate pizza to taste a dough with, because again, you will notice like it's all about the balance, all about those simple but very high quality ingredients. So like in this case, I'm having San Marzano tomato sauce. I'm gonna go all over the place. A bit of freshly grated pecorino romano, some nice fresh basil leaves. Because this is gonna stay for a long time in the oven, you really want to have it underneath your mozzarella cheese, so mozzarella all over. Again, balance is the name of the game. When you make pizza classica, it's all about finding those balance. For every single piece of pizza, you want to feel every single piece of ingredient and flavor. Now, because this will stay on for like 3 minutes into the oven, I don't want to put any extra virgin olive oil on top. I'm going to put it when it comes out. So let's go into the oven. Inside the oven, bam, one shot. Awesome, guys. Perfect. There we have it. Let's just finish it with a bit of basil. And this is it, you know. It is my award-winning pizza dough, which I'm very proud of and super happy to share with you.